How's that old expression go? Well, if you can't beat them, join them. Now, you may have seen this big headline, should be actually bigger because it has 86% of the country support right now. There's a big push underway to ban insider stock trading, because that's exactly what it is. Insider stock trading in Congress. Now, if you paid attention to this stuff for any amount of time, you can probably guess how this is going so far. More leaders are signing on to it? Sure. Is it going to go anywhere? Probably not. But what can you and I and regular people do about it? Well, I give her credit. Representative Anna Paulina Luna is making a valiant effort to try to get this done and to ban this. And she's got some support. She's already getting shot down on this. But here's the good news, and here's the big takeaway. It's a way we can all take advantage of it. But also, you know what? For the first time, maybe ever, it's really been talked about a lot, mainly because of her efforts. But they always kind of put her on these suicide missions that are going to go nowhere. But still, they put her in. It's kind of like she was the one that they put in charge of digging up all the alien information, went nowhere, you know. But give her credit for trying at least. Anyway, we'll get into that, as well as we'll jump into the headlines for a little bit, too. This is something else you may have seen a lot more this week. Polls are starting to reflect it, but you know how polls go. You can take them one way or the other. You can manipulate the information anywhere you want. In culture, just what you see out there, just where you hear people talking and videos online, there's a ton of support for these ICE officers, you know, whether or not you feel that the policy is correct. A lot of support for these ICE officers in the streets in these cities where they're deporting people left and right. A lot more than what we saw before anyway. And I didn't expect to talk about these Kennedy Center honors from this past weekend. Mainly the headliners in this one was the rock band Kiss. But so many little individual stories have come from this thing all the way through the week. And there's a viral clip from Gene Simmons on the red carpet going viral now that is absolutely great. And he's talking common sense about keeping your vote private and who you vote for and not having to tell anybody. His pushback on this question is fantastic. Anyway, we'll get back to that too. Started the the live stream anyway, a little late today because I was doing some research on some of these insider stock trades. Just general glance, general fill-in-the-blank information. It's going to shock you how much maybe even some of your favorite congressional members are making in stocks. But anyway, that doesn't matter to you if you're listening or watching later on the replay, all your favorite platforms, YouTube channel as well as the audio podcast, wherever you like to get those. Let's get right to it. Let's give her some credit for at least trying. It's a valiant effort. I don't know why it is that especially the GOP always puts this lady, representative, congressperson, in charge of like these suicide missions that seem to go nowhere. It's like it's always a valiant effort to kind of like reflect the support of the American people, but then gets shot down almost immediately. But God love her, she tries. Representative Anna Paulina Luna, a very attractive lady from, I think she's from Florida, isn't she? Air Force veteran. She's done a lot of good work. Well, now she's taking on the monumental task of trying to cut down on insider stock trading in Congress. We've all known this. Ever since you were able to turn on the news as a child or teenager, you've known that this is going on. Maybe we didn't know it was this bad. Maybe, right? But this is the first valiant effort to try to take it on. This is from earlier on in the month. She's been working on this a while. This is when she first said what she's trying to take on, and then we'll jump to how it's going so far. Representative Luna, take it away.
Okay, I brought numbers because numbers do not lie. So when you hear members of both parties saying that they have solutions for affordability, the housing crisis, pharmaceuticals, all of this, and yet you look at their personal investments, you'll know that it's literally just political gamesmanship. And unless we actually prevent insider trading, which is happening every single day in Congress, if people are telling you otherwise, they are lying to you, and really look into the regulations on individual stock trading, I would say even make it similar to the executive branch, we are literally going to never be able to fix anything because you have people on both sides that are controlled up for the three big ones, BlackRock, Vanguard, and Big Pharma. Let's look at these numbers real quick. Okay, so in the House, you have 25% of members, and in the Senate, 30% of members that own personally, totaling about $100 million in stocks in Big Pharma. Then you have BlackRock and Vanguard. In BlackRock, that big spooky organization that, in my opinion, is contributing to the housing crisis in this country because they're buying up all those single-family homes. You have about 13 members reporting holdings, but that's a significant number, especially when you have only 535 members. Sorry, the video got cut off there.
A lot of numbers, and she's talking fast, but all of it relevant, all of it important, and God love her for trying to take this on. right? And like I said, this is like an almost impossible mountain to climb to try to get this done. And she's already facing opposition to it. We'll get into what she's getting into here and the success of the insider stock trading in Congress in just a second. And by the way, every time she talks and does a video or presents it on the House floor, she makes it a point to accentuate the fact that it's both sides. This is not a political party kind of thing. All of them. We'll get into that as well. Now, let's jump. That's earlier. Let's jump to how it's going. This is just last night.
Resistance. Tell us more about what you think of Greene's view there and sort of what you have faced.
Well, I do think that she's accurate in that this legislation, specifically on the insider trading stuff, is vehemently opposed by both parties. Look, you just had Leader Hakeem Jeffries that said recently that he doesn't want to support it if it doesn't include the executive branch. But I would argue, look, I'm open for negotiations. I'll even talk to the Speaker. I'll talk to Hakeem Jeffries about this. If we had the same standards as the executive branch, insider trading wouldn't be happening. But the fact is that it's no question that if you don't necessarily fall in line, and it happens in both parties, that they will try to prevent your legislation from coming to the floor, but it doesn't mean that you give up. And so that's exactly why I have this discharge petition, of which I will say every single member of Congress, if you've told your voters that you actually fight for them, I don't care what party you are, you need to support this, because there's so much happening here on the Hill, so much special interest money, so much lobbying that goes into it, and it's not fair. You can never genuinely advocate on behalf of the American people. And so I will continue to do it.
Okay, she said there it's both. Her main point in that is she's getting resistance from both sides. Well, what do you mean? Well, how can that be? Wait a minute. What? How can she get resistance from her own party? She's a Republican, right? So you'd think everybody in her side, her team over there on the GOP side, that would be supporting her in this effort, right? Come on now. We're grown-ups. We know better than that. In fact, House Speaker Mike Johnson, boy, they jumped on him right away. Everybody. This is one of those bipartisan efforts. They jumped on him right away and they said, Mike, put a stop to this right away and don't let it happen. This is the first time he spoke out about it. In May, Speaker Mike Johnson said, well, it's not exactly illegal. It's you got to at least let these Congress people be able to trade stocks. You got to at least let them feed their families.
The counter argument is, and I have some sympathy, look, at least let them engage in some stock trading so that they can continue to, take care of their family. But
let them at least take care of their family, huh? What are we talking about here? Now, we've all heard the famous stories. We'll get into Nancy Pelosi in a second. But did you ever stop and ask why? How is Bernie Sanders, for example, how does somebody like that, he's never created a job. He's never had really a job. He's just, served, I'm a public servant. How does he become a multi-millionaire over the course of his political career, which is supposedly, like Mike Johnson says, they're just serving the American people. Let him trade stocks. Now, they'll always tell you it's because he wrote books and he did speaking tours. No, you don't make that kind of money on books and speaking tours. You make it from stock trading. Now, why is it even an issue? Let's go back to basics here, because they have information before we do, and they're able to act on it before we do. That's how. Well, what kind of numbers are we talking about here? Well, what's the success rate? The American stock investor, you, me, and everybody else, and this includes like your 401k plan, we make about, on a return, 6%. That's pretty good on average overall. Members of Congress, this is documented, 18% return in their stocks over the last 10 years. That's 3 times better than what you and I can do. You think that's a problem? Yup. Crazy to say, now over 120,000 everyday Americans are using something very special to try to track this and take advantage of it. And I did a little research, and first of all, who some of the best so far this year stock traders in Congress are. Nancy Pelosi, that's number 1. Dan Crenshaw, Republican. Remember we said this isn't a left-right Republican Democrat thing. Senator Ron Wyden. These are the top 3 performers as far as stocks go. Okay. Well, what can you do about it? She's facing an uphill battle. We just heard that. So if you can't beat them, join them. So naturally, Americans being industrious and ingenious, they took advantage of this. There is an app called, and online, you can follow the account. It's called the Nancy Pelosi Stock Trader. That you can follow, because they're public companies. You can follow the stock trades that she's made, and people are actually taking advantage of it and making big, big money. Why would it be Nancy Pelosi? Well, we just said there that she was number 1 as far as the top performer, and that's for years on end now because of how much money she's made. So the Nancy Pelosi stock trader, but there's another one. Join Autopilot has their local politicians basically pick stocks for you, where you can follow what they're actually doing. Okay, 120,000 everyday investors now are profiting by following Nancy Pelosi stock trades. There's an example of being smart about it. I don't know if we'll ever tackle this problem. I don't know, because there's too much money to be made, and that's both sides. There's too many people making money on it. There's too many people have literally vested interests in making sure that they can still inside trade inside the halls of Congress because they get this information first. But tips like that, Nancy Pelosi stock trader, Autopilot, that actually follow their stock trades and so that we can do the same thing. That's ingenious. I don't know. It's up to you. Don't look to me for financial advice, but it would kind of make sense that if you knew that members of Congress are making this kind of money and having this kind of a success rate 3 times better than what you and I are doing, it makes sense that you could follow them. Until maybe someday down the road they make these apps illegal, but who the heck knows. Let's give Anna Paulina Luna credit though for taking on this battle. I hope she wins, but it's gonna be a long fight. All right, so jump into some headlines now. This is actually one of those cultural things you're starting to see. So who knows? Polls, you can manipulate numbers and stats from a poll left and right any way you possibly want to, right? Take that for what it's worth. But you can't really deny when you spend any time on social media at all, at lunch, at work, at whatever, at a break, on your after dinner time, and you're scrolling on your phone, you may have noticed more and more videos popping up of people supporting members of ICE and National Guard. There's a lot more of that happening now. Now, is a lot of that kind of pumped up by Department of Homeland Security? I'm sure it is, but you didn't see this before. And the polls do reflect that there is more support for the work they're doing, probably in reaction to how they're getting attacked on the street and yelled at and interfered with at ICE facilities, blah, blah, blah. And this is even outside of the issue of how you feel about remigration policy. But you're seeing a lot more videos like this guy. This was in Louisiana.
All right, brother. What's your name?
My name Gus. Nice to meet you.
Gus. Greg. Nice to meet you, brother.
Thank you for making America great again.
Absolutely. Hey, Gus, you're a good man. Hey, I got something for you, Gus. Hold on a second. Hold on. I got my personal coin here for you. I think I do. There we go. I only got 20 left, brother.
Appreciate
Appreciate
Thank you
that.
for your hard work, guys.
Thank
keep
you.
up the great work and keep the...
Kind of seems like it was set up by maybe the National Guard members or if that was ICE or whatever it is. But still, regardless, that's just one. I cherry-picked that out of just something I saw this morning because I've seen a ton of them, and you may have too. There's a lot more support, and here's the takeaway. There's a lot more support for these ICE agents and the National Guard members and people who are going into these cities deployed there now to try to make the streets safer. A lot more than what you're certainly being told on mainstream news, for sure. And a lot more than you were seeing on social media. This stuff is starting to pop up now a lot more. It's kind of interesting how, again, like it always is, the headlines aren't matching up with what you see with your own eyes and ears and hear with your ears. So take it for a grain of salt. All right, I didn't expect to still be talking about the Kennedy Center honors that happened this past weekend. By all accounts, everybody loved it. So they had Gloria Gaynor, and then Michael Crawford was there, Sly Stallone, and Kiss was kind of the headliner because it was kind of like a rock thing, and like, but why is Kiss in the Oval Office, the White House? Well, the first takeaway was apparently very successful. Now, the Kennedy Center honors were always this inside little industry kind of thing, and honoring the people that nobody listened to them, nobody watched their movies. So this was actually part of the Trump administration's effort to make these honors more reflective of popular art and popular culture. So it was a big hit, apparently, by all. But there were so many things that came out of this event that are fascinating to me, at least. It seems like every single day, from all of them, there's been a clip or an interview from some of the things Sly Stallone said, a lot of the things that Kiss had said, even Michael Crawford, talking about the event, what it means now, what it actually means to have art that people actually enjoy, honored finally by a government-funded organization. And then you had this. They talked, Gene Simmons of Kiss, you're probably aware of. Always has something to say about every single topic. This didn't really pop up and go viral until like early yesterday. So somebody on the red carpet tried to egg him on and ask him about who he voted for. Because this is the new entertainment reporter kind of thing now, right? They always, If you pay attention to any of these red carpet events, they always try to insert politics into everything now. It's just what they do. Even in entertainment, which used to be the escape from all that crap, right? Well, they tried to ask Gene Simmons and his wife Shannon Tweed who he voted for and what he thinks, and tried to make it political. I got to tell you, I've always been a Kiss fan. You know that. I got to tell you, this is the best shutdown of that gotcha kind of interview I've ever seen in my life. I would love to see more celebrities from all different kind of genres do this. I don't think it's going to happen. It takes somebody like Gene Simmons to actually do this. But how awesome is this? And he makes a great point about celebrities talking about, and individual people too, talking about who they vote for and how it used to be. I absolutely love it.
Are you supportive of the way he's handling the office?
Why do you care?
Well, I'd be interested to see what you think, and you've known him
It's
for
all nonsense. It's all clickbait. When I was first starting to vote, there used to be a curtain, and you voted anonymously, and you voted your conscience. And nowadays, people want to know who you're voting for. What the fuck business is anybody's? It's none of your business. That's why every person, one vote makes the difference. And you guys inflamed the situation by asking people, so, who did you vote for? Who are you for?
Sorry about the F-bomb, but there was no way I was going to... None of that should be edited. It was absolutely fantastic. And how right is he? Remember that... I remember growing up, my dad used to tell me two things. You know, never tell people how much you make, never tell people who you vote for. Like, literally, he would say that. Like, that didn't dish out a lot of advice, but that was definitely one of them. Now, what do? I go into radio, where people obviously can tell who I vote for. And I was in radio, so they know I didn't make that much money. So it's too late for me. But for you and everybody else, that is a cultural change now, isn't it? Where people are so outwardly talking about who they support politically and stuff. It wasn't that long ago, guys. It wasn't that long ago in everyday life, in your work life or social life or mixed company. You didn't talk about that crap. You just didn't. You kept it to yourself. We have to go back to that. And God love Gene Simmons for pointing that out and throwing it right back into the gotcha journalist so-called face for trying to egg him on to say that kind of thing. That we have to go back to that. And it's something more than just celebrities not talking about their personal politics. It's beyond that. It's you and me and normal people not blurting it out all the time everywhere. Yeah, I know social media is a big cause of this kind of thing. It doesn't mean you have to post who you're voting for or what you think on every single time. We do need to go back to that. I just love the fact that he pointed that out, because it really wasn't that long ago. It wasn't. If you go back 10 years ago, if suddenly you could transport back in time and you went into a social situation, way less about people talking about politics. Maybe we need to go back to that. I don't know. But the big takeaway, support those who are trying to ban this insider stock trading thing. It's 86% in growing support of the country to ban Congress from being able to do that. Are they going to do it? No. But there are ways you can take advantage of it too. Look up those stock trading sites. It's worth it. Got to do what you want to do, but there's always an end around. Have a great Thursday. Thanks for hanging out with me. Make it awesome. Thanks for finding the audio podcast, too, and the YouTube channel. Just look for Wicked Radio with me. Wherever you are online, you'll find all this stuff, too, and the complete replay of the show and clips, too, on YouTube as well. Make it a wicked awesome Thursday. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Got to go trade some stocks.